This is a great question and one that's come up a couple of times. I'm the youngest of three children, and there's a large age gap between me and my middle brother. There's 13 years between me and the middle brother, and 15 years between me and the oldest brother. I lived at home, obviously, the longest. I moved away from home in 1996 and left the Buffalo area and moved to the Charlotte, North Carolina area. In 1999, my dad retired. They took up full time RVing and traveled around the world, or traveled around the country in the RV, and then ultimately settled on spending most of their time in Florida. And so it started that they would come and stay with me for a month here and there, maybe in the fall or the spring. And then it kind of turned into we'll do 6 months in Florida in the winter months and 6 months in the Charlotte area with me in the summer months. And then they were going to do that for 1 or 2 more years. And then my mother had a diagnosis of lung cancer while they were up visiting me for the summer. And we decided at that time, since they were going to sell their RV the next year or so anyway, that maybe it was best to go ahead and sell that RV and to settle here in Charlotte with me, because we didn't know when she had the cancer diagnosis what we would be looking at for treatment and such. So it turns out she was able to have 1/3 of her lung removed and just treat it surgically. She didn't do any chemo or radiation. And it put us, in an area where they had the family support of me and consistent doctors, not being in two different places all the time. And a year or two after following up from that lung cancer, there was a secondary kidney cancer. She had some other issues at the time. She had a bleeding ulcer, hernia, hip replacement, things like that. And kind of all that led us to the Alzheimer's journey. And so they were living with me full time at that point. So it just kind of became part of what we did with all the crisis. In the middle of all that, my dad had his first stroke. So just stepping up and becoming the caregiver was just something natural. For many years, though, dad's very capable. So dad has been able to be the primary caregiver, and they live in my house, and I'm around 95% of the time if I'm not traveling or doing something. So I was able to provide that support to them. So that's how that came about.